Isaac showed great faith and chose to obey God's command. He decided not to continue on a journey to Egypt, even though Egypt was well known for having plenty of food when other places had none. Instead, he settled down with his family and all his belongings in Gerar, fully trusting in God's powerful word. This brave decision showed Isaac's strong faith in God's promises. He truly believed that God would take good care of him and his entire household. It was a significant step of trust, to choose to stay in a land affected by famine, relying only on God's promise of help and blessing.
I will trust in God's promise and stay here in this land.
A great hunger came to the land where Isaac lived. This famine was very bad, just like one in Abraham's time. There was not enough food for people or for their animals. Everyone was worried about what they would eat. Isaac knew he needed to find a new place for his family and his herds. He decided to travel to the land of Gerar. This was the city where Abimelech, the king of the Philistines, ruled with his people. It was a journey made with hope for food and water, but it was also a journey made with some worry because famines were dangerous times for everyone and finding safety was important. As Isaac was considering his options and maybe thinking about going to Egypt, where there was often food during famines, God appeared to him. God spoke very clearly and directly to Isaac. "Do not go down to Egypt. You must live in the land that I will show you right here." This was a very specific instruction from the Lord God. Isaac listened very carefully to these important words. God wanted him to stay in the land of Canaan, not to seek help far away in Egypt. This moment was a big test of Isaac's trust and obedience. "Stay in this land, and I will be with you always. I will bless you richly while you are here. I promise to give all these lands to you and to your children who will come after you." This is the very same promise that I made to your beloved father, Abraham. "I will make your family as numerous as all the stars that sparkle in the night sky." It was a beautiful promise of God's constant protection, his generous provision, and a truly great future for Isaac and his descendants.
What you have done is a very wrong thing. One of my people could have easily taken Rebecca, wrongly thinking she was unmarried. That mistake would have brought great guilt and trouble upon all of us. Anyone who harms this man Isaac or his wife Rebecca will be put to death.
I said she was my sister because I was afraid. I thought I might be killed because of her beauty.
Look, it is obvious that she is really your wife. Why did you tell everyone that she is your sister?
He did not tell them that she was his wife, the woman he loved. He hoped that this lie would keep him safe from any harm or danger. This was a trick that his own father, Abraham, had also used on 2 occasions in similar situations when he was afraid. It showed that Isaac was very scared and was not fully trusting God to protect him and Rebekah in this specific way, despite the recent promises he had received. One day, Abimelech, the king of Gerar, was at his palace. He happened to be looking out of one of his windows. As he looked, he saw Isaac and Rebekah together in the distance. He saw Isaac showing affection to Rebekah, caressing her in a way that a brother would not normally show to a sister. It became very clear to King Abimelech that Isaac and Rebekah were actually husband and wife, not just siblings. The king was very surprised by what he saw. He quickly realized that Isaac had not told him the complete truth about his relationship with the beautiful Rebekah. This discovery concerned the king greatly.
She is my sister.
His greatest fear was that they might try to kill him just so they could take his wife. This was a deep and troubling fear that weighed heavily on Isaac's mind. Because of this great and persistent fear, Isaac came up with a plan. He decided to tell the men of Gerar something that was not entirely true.
If these men notice how beautiful Rebekah is, they might desire her for themselves.
Isaac lived in the land of Gerar for quite some time with his family. His dear wife Rebekah was with him, and she was known to be a very beautiful woman. As time went on, Isaac began to feel a growing sense of fear within him. He worried constantly about what the men of Gerar might do when they saw Rebekah. They began to resent his presence and his good fortune. This deep jealousy eventually led the Philistines to do unkind and destructive things. They wanted to cause trouble for Isaac and somehow stop his continuing success. They went to the wells that Isaac's father, Abraham, had dug many years before. These wells were extremely important sources of water, essential for watering the animals and for the people themselves to drink. The jealous Philistines, in their envy, deliberately filled up these precious wells with earth, stones, and rubbish. They did this wicked act after Abraham had died, trying to erase his legacy in the land and, more importantly, to harm Isaac by cutting off his water supply.
Why should this outsider have so much while we have so little?
The Philistine people who lived in Gerar saw all of Isaac's increasing wealth. They saw his huge harvests from the fields. They saw his numerous, healthy animals grazing in the pastures. They also saw his many servants going about their tasks. As they watched Isaac's success grow, they started to feel very jealous of him. They did not like the fact that Isaac was becoming so much more prosperous and powerful than they were. Their envy grew stronger and more bitter as Isaac's blessings continued to multiply without end.
Have you seen how much Isaac has? His flocks and crops are everywhere.
Everyone in Gerar could see how incredibly successful Isaac's farming was, especially since the land had been suffering from famine. Isaac became very, very rich. His wealth kept on growing and growing day after day, season after season. He came to own many large flocks of sheep, which provided wool and meat. He also owned great herds of cattle, which were valuable for milk, meat, and work. In addition to his animals, he had a large number of servants who worked for him. Isaac grew to be a very important and powerful man in the entire region of Gerar. His prosperity was abundant and continued to increase, making him stand out among all the people there.
Master Isaac, look at all the grain we have harvested. It is so much more than we ever dreamed.
After this incident with Abimelech, Isaac decided to settle down and begin farming in that land, and the Lord God blessed him very, very much in all his efforts. In that very same year, Isaac planted his seeds, and he reaped an enormous harvest. He gathered 100 times more grain than he had originally planted. This was an amazing and unusually large amount of food, far more than anyone expected. It was a clear and undeniable sign that God was indeed with Isaac, just as he had promised. God was faithfully keeping his promise to bless him. Later, when Isaac had journeyed to Beersheba, the Lord appeared to him one night. God, I am the God of your father Abraham. Do not be afraid, for I am with you. I will bless you, and I will make your descendants many for the sake of my servant Abraham. Isaac was deeply thankful for this reassurance. He built an altar there to worship the Lord and called on his holy name.
Now the Lord has finally made room for us here. We can live peacefully and we will flourish in this land.
Isaac was so relieved and happy. He named the well Rehoboth, meaning spaciousness or room.
We dug another well, even farther away. This time no one argued with us, no one claimed it or shouted at us.
With a heavy heart, Isaac named this second well Sitnah, meaning opposition or enmity, because the hostility continued. Still, Isaac did not want to fight. He understood they were determined to cause trouble, so he wisely decided to move again, looking for a place of peace.
This water also belongs to us. You have no right to it.
So Isaac named that well Esek, which means contention or dispute, because they had argued with him there. But Isaac's servants didn't give up. They moved a little further away and began to dig another well, hoping this one would bring peace.
This water belongs to us. You cannot use it.
Isaac, honoring his father's memory, gave these restored wells the very same names that Abraham had originally given them. But it wasn't long before trouble started.
As soon as we arrived, we started digging open the wells that had belonged to your father Abraham. The Philistines had filled them with dirt after he passed away.
Isaac listened to the king. He did not argue or try to fight for his place. Instead, he chose to keep the peace and agreed to leave that particular area. Isaac packed up his belongings, gathered his household and his herds and moved his camp, settling in the nearby valley of Gerar.
You must move away from us now. You have become far too powerful for us to live beside you peacefully. Your presence is causing tension.
King Abimelech saw just how jealous his people were becoming of Isaac. He also noticed how incredibly powerful and influential Isaac had grown in the land. The story reminds us that even in times of blessing, life can bring challenges to our families and our hearts.
Later in Isaac's life, when our son Esau was 40 years old, he married 2 Hittite women. It brought much sadness and grief to both Isaac and me, as these women did not share our faith or values.
Isaac was filled with joy and named that well Sheba, which means oath and can also relate to 7. The town that eventually grew up around that well became known as Beersheba, meaning well of the oath or well of seven. This was another sign of God's continued blessing on Isaac.
We have found water. We have found fresh flowing water in the well we were digging.
After the agreement was sealed, Abimelech and his men departed from Isaac's camp in peace. Isaac was glad to be at peace with his neighbors. On that very same day, something wonderful happened.
We swear an oath to maintain peace and friendship between us and our peoples from this day forward.
Isaac prepared a great and generous feast for King Abimelech and all his men. They ate and drank together in an atmosphere of friendship and goodwill. Early the next morning, they gathered and formally made their promises to each other.
Let us celebrate this new understanding.
Isaac listened carefully and considered their proposal. He agreed that it was good to make peace.
Let us now make a binding treaty between us. Let there be a sworn agreement, an oath, that you will not harm us or our people, just as we have not harmed you. In fact, we have always treated you well and sent you away in peace when you left Gerar. You are now truly the blessed of the Lord.
They had come to realize that Isaac's remarkable success and prosperity were not just ordinary luck, but a clear sign of God's special favor.
We have seen very clearly with our own eyes that the Lord is with you. It is obvious to us that God blesses you in everything that you do.
Abimelech and his companions answered Isaac with respect.
Why have you come to visit me now? You were unfriendly to me before, and you even sent me away from your land. What brings you here today?
After some time had passed, King Abimelech of Gerar decided it was time to visit Isaac. He didn't come alone. He brought Ahuzath, his trusted advisor, and Phicol, the commander of his army. Isaac was honestly quite surprised to see them, especially after all the trouble with the wells. He remembered the difficulties and the unfriendliness he had faced from the Philistines.